Good old Louisiana rice and gravy. This one done with deer meat. Hey guys, we're gonna do some cooking today. We're gonna do a full tutorial. Y'all stick around and get the recipe on this. This is some deer meat off of the neck. You know, growing up in Louisiana, I hear a lot of people, especially even myself and other creators and stuff, we do a lot of dishes, and we always talk about, you know, the Cajun dishes and the South, and we do a lot of the crawfish etouffees or jambalayas, gumbos. We do all those things, but I can promise you, growing up, 90% of the households where I grew up in Louisiana, at least 2 days a week, we had just rice and gravy. Your size could vary from whatever you may want, but every household in Louisiana that I know had rice and gravy. And you can do this recipe for rice and gravy with deer meat, chicken, beef, duck, rabbit, squirrel. We've done it with just about every protein available. And it's a really simple rice and gravy. It's going to be a real thin gravy. It's just one of those things where there's no roux involved, there's no flour involved. It's going to be onions, bell peppers, green onions, seasonings, and the meat. And the most important thing is to get your meat in the pot first. We got a good hot pot. And what we're going to do is we got a little bit of oil in there, not much. And we're going to sit here and we're going to brown this meat, because a gravy is a lot similar to when you go to a steakhouse and you get a steak. And if you want a rare steak or a medium rare, you always want that good char on the outside, and you want the inside to be more rare, but you love that flavor of that char on the outside. And that's exactly what we're going to do with this deer meat. We're going to let it set. We're going to keep stirring it. We're going to get a good browning, a good char on it, and then we're going to pull it out, and we're going to get our onions and bell peppers and green onions and a little garlic, and we're going to brown that until it gets to a really good brown thick paste. And then we're going to add water, then put our meat back. We're going to let this cook for a couple hours. So y'all stick around and we're going to go through the whole process. So while this is browning, as y'all can see, and then we're going to get a good, you're going to see when I go to pull it out, it's going to be a good dark brown. It's going to start sticking to the pot a little bit, which is what we want. We want them cremies in the bottom so that we can get our brown gravy, our thick color gravy. Not thick in look, but thick in flavor. So we're gonna cut a bell pepper up right here. And it ain't gotta be cut perfect. Like I said, we're gonna cook this down for a couple hours. I promise you, it's all gonna come together. But we're gonna get this chopped up. We ain't even gonna go real small. We like some pretty big pieces in here. Cause again, we're gonna brown this, saute it. So I like to put a couple of onions in there. I mean, we've got 2 good yellow onions. Again, don't be scared to get a couple of different sizes when you're chopping. That way, some will break down a little bit earlier. They'll get a little darker, some won't. And then that way, when you start actually cooking your gravy, you'll have some of the onions will disintegrate, and then you'll have some will still kind of be in there firm, and they'll just continue to leak that flavor all over your pot, and that's what you're looking for. So let's get this cut up, and then we're gonna move to the next step. All right, guys, we got our deer meat browned up. Put that in a bowl. I'm gonna set that over here and let that rest for a minute. Now we got them onions and them bell peppers. We'll get that in here, and we're gonna let this start sauteing for a few minutes. But this would be the perfect time to get that old sauce bon from Cooking with Cajun. Get you some of that, and then get you that voodoo. And get you some of that voodoo in there. When we say add the seasonings, we mean the onions, bell pepper, and whatever Cajun seasonings or any kind of seasoning you like. My seasonings are more of a all-purpose, low sodium, no sugar, no MSG. So we're gonna give that, we're gonna let that cook, and we'll come back here in a minute just to see. We're gonna get it cooked down to where it's good and brown. Keep a good fire underneath it, and we're gonna get these things sauteed with some good flavor. All right, guys. So we got our onion and bell peppers browned down. That's about the color and the texture we're looking for. Now, throughout this process, if it starts sticking real bad, you can add just a little bit of water and keep stirring it and let it cook down. So at this point, I'm gonna add some minced garlic and my green onions. I'm gonna give that a stir. Now we're only gonna let this cook for about maybe a minute or two, and then we're gonna add our meat back in, and then we're gonna add some water, and we're gonna put the lid on it. We're gonna let this start to really cook the meat and smother everything together, and we're gonna see what it looks like then. All right, guys, so I've added about 2 cups of water to the onions and all. I'm gonna put my meat back in there. We got that old deer meat that we browned earlier. We're gonna give that a little stir. And at this point, I'm gonna put the lid on there, and we're basically gonna let it cook. We're probably gonna check this about every 10 to 15 minutes. And if it looks like we're getting low on water on gravy, we'll add a little bit, and we'll do this probably 4 or 5 times until it cooks down to the meat's tender. But we'll keep you up posted, and we'll come back here in a minute and show you what we're talking about. All right, guys, I don't know if y'all can hear it. The rain has started, which I love the rain on a metal roof. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So it's been about 15, 16, 17 minutes. You can see there's really no moisture left in there, and that's kind of what I want. What happens is that moisture comes out, that meat continues to cook with the seasonings and the onions and bell peppers. Everything is just making love and coming together. And now I'm gonna add enough water to cover everything in the pot, because at this point I have just absolutely got everything involved with each other. And the flavors are there, everything is there. And I'm gonna put the lid back on. We're gonna turn the heat up a little bit, and we're gonna let this completely just cook to where the gravy is gonna get a little thicker, get a little lower, but the meat's gonna be absolutely falling apart tender. And that's the secret to a good gravy, is getting your base made first, and then letting your meat marry in that gravy for several, like I said, at this point, we're probably gonna let it cook for about an hour, hour and a half. That meat will just be falling apart. That gravy will be right where it needs to be, and we'll show you what it looks like on a bed of rice. All right, guys, so this has been cooking for about 2 hours. Here's what we got. Nothing but good flavor, tender meat. Now let's just get a plate and put it on some rice. And we don't have to really overthink these meals sometimes. Get that old gravy on that rice. just like this. You can add as much gravy as you want, or as little as you want. And we don't have to have all these crazy sides. We got pickled okra, pickled beets. I mean, this right here is definitely a good, solid meal